it's okay to flirt, you know? Look, here, okay, unless you're, here's an opening step. Unless you're specifically on a kinks or roleplay website, don't open with that, and don't pretend to be a woman's friend because you want to see her feet, you know? Like, this is a big miscommunication gap. It's okay if you're only interested in a woman for her feet. I think you're a psychopath, but I guess there's nothing like innately wrong with it. They just have to know that. Don't like, haha, what if I sniffed your shoes for months while pretending to be their friend? You know, you don't want to do that, okay? You want to you want to be upfront and forward. Give them the opportunity to let you know whether they're okay with what you're about, you know? And don't pretend not to be a foot fetishist. I mean, if you're opening to, okay, like, let me give an example. Okay, let me try to like give an example here, okay? Totally random example, not at all relevant to my interest, but say somebody was into water sports, okay? Now, because women and bottoms generally are fucking psychopaths, if you're just out there on like dating apps matching with people, odds are about like half of them will be some level of into it, because you know, people are fucking crazy. But one thing you don't want to do, like, I'll sort of like, you know, it's sort of explore the hypothetical. You don't want to have a girl in your like mutuals or whatever, and she posts a picture of her at the pub with like a big pint, you know, and then you message her and be like, wow, that was a big pint, bet you had to pee a lot afterwards. And then she's like, yeah. And then you pretend to be friends with her for multiple months, while every once in a while, like, making comments like that, until eventually you're like, yeah, I have a huge piss fetish. My girlfriend said, but it's not sexual. And I'm just interested in pee. I just like, pee is very like, you know, scientifically interesting me, blah, blah. And then like, what if I went up to you while you were pissing and like fucking leg checked you, so you fell backwards and the piss flew everywhere? Like, I was about to say, yeah, please just don't do this and you'll be fine, okay? It's all right to flirt with people, though. Didn't Caleb Maupin do this with spanking? Yes, Caleb Maupin did do this with spanking. If Caleb Maupin had just messaged a person and said, hey, you have gigantic hands, I call them ass clappers, want to spank my butt because I'm a bad boy? And been direct and upfront like that, that would have been a lot less weird, you know? We stand a confident king who's into his own weird shit or whatever, you know? But, you know, it's people are weird sometimes. It's not good. It would have been called sexual harassment. Yeah, you should only do that. You should never do that. But if you were going to do that, it should be on like a kink dating or roleplay website, because at least there's some like assumed context. But you shouldn't just do that as an opener, you know? I fetishize normal conversation, then you can never talk to anyone. If you say something flirtatious and it's responded to with silence or change in the convo, they're likely not interested. Yeah. The big thing the easiest way to not be creepy, okay, is A, try to keep a read on how they feel. If they change the subject or just don't respond, if another person is into what you're trying to get them into, like a kink or whatever, they'll engage with it. And if they don't, they're not, right? If you're doing italicized foot fetish roleplay with someone and they're not themselves doing italicized foot fetish roleplay with you, they're probably not into the italicized foot fetish roleplay. It's like having a friend who's a girl and like you keep making weird half passes that you play off as a joke, and every once in a while you'll like try a 3/4 pass, and then when she responds with disinterest or negativity, you're like, oh no, it was a half pass, whatever. I'm just a little birthday boy. Creep behavior? Yeah, creep behavior. I think a lot of people do this because they're weak and cowardly. I think that confidence and strength naturally lend themselves towards avoiding this kind of shit. Because if you're confident enough to just say what you're into and be direct with somebody, and not so insecure that you wouldn't constantly cloyingly go after somebody who's express disinterest, usually avoid this issue. So be direct and be confident, folks. You know, people say, what's the worst that she could say? She could say no. Oh, she could be really mean to you. If she's really mean to you for shooting your shot, then you're kind of saving yourself some time and effort, right? Do you want to be with a girl who on a shot you've taken is really mean to you? Okay, fine. You know, just be normal. It's okay. Just don't be weird. It's all good. Do you think these feelings and behaviors stem from the fear of rejection and loneliness? To a large extent, yeah, I think so. I think sometimes it's because people, maybe not knowingly, but they enjoy on some level being predators. The idea of like inconveniencing a woman and making them succumb to you. I don't think that's the norm. I think that's a part of it, but I think for the most part, behavior like this is stuff more aligned with desperation or weakness. That doesn't make it any more sympathetic, mind you. To an extent, I kind of understand the abstract of like, I like the idea of bagging women. It's like the conquest mentality to an extent. The idea of like from 0 to 100, you meet a person. How long in between meeting a person and exchanging names and them sucking your dick? Like, what's the timeline there? And doesn't it feel cool for it to be a short one? I get that. As somebody who thinks slutty people are stronger than the rest of us, I respect it, you know? If you're one of those types of like bathhouse glory hole motherfuckers or whatever, you know, your strength is admired here, you know, great, fantastic. I get that element to it, but obviously the whole point of that dynamic is consent, right? Because to me, you know, I'm going to appeal to this in like a very, I guess, chauvinistic way, but I think the idea of trying to like red pill a woman into fucking you is quite emasculating. See, I don't like putting in that much effort because if I feel like I'm putting in too much effort, it makes me feel like, I don't know, I have to compensate for something or you know, like I'm not that wanted. If I'm with a chick, you know, date, whatever, you know, fucking, and she wants to get railed, you know, put it out there. If she's into it, sure. But if I have to fight for it, like, fuck, why fight? Why should I have to fight for that? You know, I've got enough going on in my life. Shouldn't I be with people who want to be with me? Personally, the idea of having to like maneuver a woman into being into me sounds like a lot of work and frankly, a little tad humiliating. Not to say you can't ever fight for someone. You know, sometimes life's complicated. You really like a person and they kind of like you, but you want to like make a case for yourself. I get that. That's fine. I just think that generally, yeah, you get what I'm saying, right? You understand what I'm talking about, right? There's nothing wrong with trying hard, but you should try hard in your own terms. This is something that I've noticed before with strategic failure. You know, sometimes I'll see a post on Twitter and somebody will say like, you know, oh, I dropped the bag on this girl. But by dropping the bag on this girl, what the guy did was just do the thing he wanted to do. And the idea that that's dropping the bag, that kind of betrays the assumption that you should just do whatever it takes to get laid, even if it means kind of like compromising your own personality. Like instances, for example, of a guy being kind of like autistic or whatever about, I don't know, fucking Legos. Maybe you talk about Legos a little too much and she loses interest. If you like talking about Legos, maybe you're interested in the kind of girl who would reciprocate that interest, right? Like I've certainly ghosted or turned down people who I found disinteresting for one reason or another, you know? There's nothing wrong with that. Well, don't be a dick about it, I guess. There's nothing wrong with it fundamentally. People should always be willing to put in the right amount of effort for what they want in the right ways, as long as everyone's on board, you know? I think that rizzing and doing the whole like red pill, like plate juggling bullshit to get laid is weird and emasculating and bullshit and quite chauvinistic in addition to all that. But you can put in a ton of effort for the right reasons, and I think that's quite nice, you know? Yeah, being cowardly and dishonest are really the big kickers there. Almost always, yeah.